Good morning, everyone. Sorry to be a little late. If there are members of the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation who are just kind of hanging around, please come on up. This is we've already created an oasis. We're expecting a storm. We got a nice tent. We got great music. It must be the Delaware Waterfront. Yes. We're not into snow. Snow costs money. We're against snow. Sorry to all the children out there. It's a great pleasure to see everyone here today. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Joe Brooks and the great folks at the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation, all of our board members, many of whom are here this morning. A couple folks from the administration. See Rhina Cutler, Deputy Mayor for Transportation and Utilities, Andy Altman, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, Terry Gillen, Senior Advisor for Economic Development to me, and Councilman Frank DiCicco, Councilman for the 1st Council District, Feather Houston, President of the William Penn Foundation. Why don't we just start the morning off with a big round of applause for Feather Houston and the Penn Foundation. Of course, would be hiding, which is apparently her usual role. Steve Wexler, President of the Central Delaware Advocacy Group. Let us give them a big round of applause as well. Today we are one step closer to our shared vision for the greatest waterfront anywhere in the United States of America. It's a vision of a waterfront that plays a vitally important role in Philadelphia, as our waterfront has in the past. This river is not just about water. It's been a working river for a long period of time, and as I've talked about in the past, and as we've shared these ideas and visions from some time ago, a wonderful band of green, a great path, walking, biking, or other things that people might do on great paths, but also areas of green and recreational space all over the place that folks would want to come to our waterfront. A city that extends right up to the river's edge, well designed, much as this tent is. I guess we need to move along before the thing falls down. What we're talking about is a great place and a great space for a great city, a great region, and for the nation to see. A waterfront that is accessible to all, walkable, and developed in a sustainable and intelligent fashion. Today I'm pleased to announce that this next step is one that leads us to creating a world-class recreational treasure, eventually stretching from Oregon Avenue to Allegheny to the north. On Friday, the Board of Directors of the William Penn Foundation awarded the City of Philadelphia a $1 million grant that will enable us to develop a signature amenity on the river, a beautiful green recreational space on what right now is a derelict Pier 11. Again, let us give great thanks to William Penn. Next year, we'll have an expertly designed, carefully crafted space for the enjoyment of all Philadelphians and people in the region and across the country. And we hope will also attract folks to come to our waterfront. Let me also point out that this grant, of course, comes at the best time. Of course, we need jobs in Philadelphia, and this project will put a number of people to work, from design to construction. But in a real way, it becomes a part of our own attempt to have a local stimulus program. And like the green jobs that we were just talking about on Friday, when Vice President Biden honored the city by bringing the middle-class task force to Philadelphia, we also helps us in our larger effort to be the #1 green city in America. Talked a great deal about the foundation, but I cannot be more excited for the growing partnership between the William Penn Foundation and the City of Philadelphia. William Penn's support in terms of grant programs and other supports that we've received has really been spectacular, and I really appreciate Feather Houston and all of her staff and the work that they do with us. This again is just one more example. Because of this grant, the support, the development at the Central Delaware Riverfront Public Access Master Plan, the Foundation also was helpful in creating the vision that the pieces of which we've continued to lay out. This is a plan that will help us to easily understand, but also more importantly guide the future public and private investment that we're looking to make here on our waterfront. We'll be strongly focused on providing public access to the river that over the centuries has literally been cut off for many of us for much too long. We're expecting to issue an RFP for the planning work this month. We further expect that the work will be completed in the course of the next 18 months. The kind of development that we're talking about today, where public and private sources come together for a common goal, is precisely what hundreds and hundreds of people talked about as a part of the Central Delaware Advocacy Group that they were calling for, and we've implemented just a couple of those pieces. Let me also give congratulations again to CDAG. Your recommendations in the action plan for the Central Delaware in January, one of the number one recommendations, of course, was creating a new entity to oversee development in the proper way for our waterfront. And we took your recommendations seriously, and now, of course, you see many of the board members of the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation. Its work, the people involved, the new leadership that they're providing as a board, working with the great staff at the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation, is what will make this plan work as we go forward. Day by day, we're taking item after item from that action plan. And so once again, I want to thank CDAG and all of the work that you did over a long period of time. And let us please recognize them just one more time. Another one of your recommendations, and I talked about this last year, and I believe this work has already started, was to create a continuous 7-mile trail along the waterfront. Again, thanks to William Penn and its funding, the city is building a portion of that trail between Lombard and Mifflin. The project is being done in phases, and so this first section between Lombard and around Mifflin or Washington is expected to be completed this May. The work has already started. We are really on our way. And good planning is what leads to not only great design but also great cities. And if you think back to the 90s, I know today it might be a little hard to think about what was going on back then. When we think about our Navy Yard, about the same size as Center City, Philadelphia. We have the wonderful opportunity, I was just down there the other day, CNN came to town to preview Vice President Biden's task force on Friday. We did a tour of a number of the sites down there. John King was in town, and we looked at a number. One in particular, of course, is Tasty Bake. Now, many of us have literally grown up and grown larger as a result of the great work that Tasty Cake has done in Philadelphia for many, many years. It's because of great planning from the 90s, when we were at a point where what was going to happen with the Navy Yard, base closure process, and all of those issues, that we now get to take folks down to the Navy Yard because there was a plan put in place for its growth and development. Happened during the time when Mayor Rendell was in office. Mayor Street has come, and now I am here. And so great planning leads to a result that may happen many, many years down the road, 10, 15, 20 years. If we worry less about credit and more about results, that's what planning is really all about. And that leads me to talk about a person who has been a leader about planning and growth and development in this area for a long period of time, and quite frankly, has the scars to prove it. I'm going to introduce Councilman Frank DiCicco, who has played such a critical role in offering a vision for the waterfront for this century. Much of his work started in the last century. And long before I was paying any real attention to what was going on down here at the waterfront. Certainly supported Councilman DiCicco's efforts when I was a member of City Council. But Frank DiCicco knew and knows what this waterfront can do, and has worked with any number of folks in providing that kind of leadership at a time maybe when others are not maybe paying that close of attention or can't necessarily see what the future is all about. Frank DiCicco helped to bring together the many, many groups and a lot of people who led to the creation of the Central Delaware Advocacy Group in the first place. Too many events today. We're in the midst of the development brought forward by that leadership and the collaborative spirit with which Frank works with folks. And I know from my time serving with him as a member of City Council, and I certainly know now as Mayor of Philadelphia, the tremendous partnership. When Frank DiCicco says he's going to do something, he does it. When he says he's going to work on something, he works on it and then gets results. And so it's with great pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce Frank DiCicco. He wants to share some additional thoughts about the future of this area. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, I did. I didn't write anything, to be honest with you. I just wing it. But thank you. Thank you all for coming, and it's good to see that I'm not the only person that does not go to church services on Sundays.
We've been praying.
Yeah, we're going to continue to pray, too. I just like to reflect on a couple of the things the mayor spoke about the planning process. But before I do that, I, too, would like to take this opportunity to thank some people. Things just don't happen in a vacuum. You have to have people who work for you who care as much about the things that you care about and have the ability to articulate and help to get things done and move the ball along. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my legislative assistant, Brian Abernathy, who's way back there in the corner. One of the brightest stars in Philadelphia's future, I believe, and maybe someday be a candidate for public office. Why would he ever want to do that? I don't know. I'm not going to get him in trouble. But Brian came to me in my office one day when we were talking about development. And as the mayor said, that I've been involved in development since almost the first day I came to council in 1996. And yes, we do have some scars, but the scars were well worth it because it enabled me to begin to understand much more fully what the communities and the residents in the areas mostly adjacent to the riverfront had concerns about. And through those processes over the years, numerous community meetings were held with planning and zoning committees throughout those neighborhoods and developers. But there was always something missing. There's something in my mind that was missing was a master plan, a vision for the waterfront in its entirety. Because developers come with great ideas and their money, which we certainly welcome. But those projects were specific to a project-specific development. And although it was a good thing and we encouraged it and wanted to see things happen, there was just a lot of pieces missing in that puzzle. Brian came to me and said, maybe we can do something with Penn Praxis, and I had no clue what Penn Praxis was at the time. Harris Steinberg, who leads the Penn Praxis team from Penn, is sitting out here. And we met with Harris, and we talked about how we can develop a master plan for the Central Delaware waterfront. And one thing Harris said was, I don't want it to be a political plan. We want this to be something that is a people plan. And as a result of that process, and I have to take this opportunity also to thank former Mayor Street, who, but for his executive order, we may not be standing here, although I'm not suggesting that Mayor Nutter will not have signed an executive order creating the Penn Praxis plan, but we would have been maybe 2 years behind in that schedule. So after talking to Harris, we met with the mayor. We met with Sean McCanny from the William Penn Foundation, and as you know, the rest is history. And as a result of that, hundreds, if not thousands of people from across the city and region participated in a public works project, meeting with Penn Praxis, pretty much on a bi-weekly basis for about a year, which is the time of the executive order, and produced what we believe is a blueprint a blueprint for the development of this community. Through that whole process and moving forward, other ideas came out of our office about the zoning commission. Voters of the city of Philadelphia gave their stamp of approval to that. That process is moving forward. And I know there are challenges with that as well. As I always say to folks who come into my office for development and other things, nobody gets 100%. There's got to be give and take. And the partnership that we will have developed and will continue to work with the private development, with the zoning commission, and with the planning commission will remove the political environment, and this is something unusual for a politician, I'm sure, to say this, from having to make decisions in a vacuum. The people's voices will be heard, they will continue to be heard, and that partnership of those entities will make for a better development along the central Delaware waterfront, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the majority of the people. So, in a sense, I've kind of removing myself from a lot of the political decisions that will have to be made and some of the power that comes with my job, but it's all for the betterment of the waterfront and the city of Philadelphia. So I come here today thanking everyone, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people that helped make this day possible, and I wanted to be here to make sure I thank you. And thank you, Mayor Nutter, for continuing that dream that we all had for making Philadelphia's waterfront the premier waterfront in the United States of America. Thank you.
Frank, thank you, and thanks for laying that out. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of confidence to do many of the things that Frank has done, and on the other side, when he talks about political people stepping back for a second, that's not a particularly easy thing either, but it's a sign of great leadership. And I want to also echo comments. Harris, good to see you. Thank you so much. Can we please recognize Harris Simon? A couple other comments, and then we're going to have the heavyweight and the cleanup hitter. The reason that we're all here today, not by size, possibly more featherweight, but pound for pound, just knocking them out all over the place. I thought I saw him, but I wasn't sure. Paul Levy, Central Philadelphia. Paul been working with us on the trail issue, and Paul, I want to say thank you again for your commitment, not only to, of course, the waterfront, but to all things of Philadelphia, the area in which you're supposed to work in, and many other things that you do. We are very, very appreciative. I wanted to get a feather up. As I said, she's often kind of just hanging out in the back, but we would not be here today without the great support of the William Penn Foundation. And again, on behalf of the administration, this particular area, but so many others. The William Penn Foundation has been a strong supporter. They laid out, again, this vision a good while ago, supported the work. It's one thing for folks to give you advice. We get tons of advice, incredible number of suggestions on a day-to-day basis. And of course, many of them are good, but they often do not come with the resources for implementation. If Heather Houston has something on her mind, it's not only a great idea, but they literally put their money where their ideas are, and this is one of them. And so without any further delay, Heather Houston.
This is very, very unusual for the William Penn Foundation to show up at press conferences. We told Rhina and others, don't mention us, just do well. But I did want to come today because this really has been a special process for us. When Frank DiCicco, and he did indeed do exactly what he said, he came in and said, we've got to do this better. 2 years ago, we engaged Penn Praxis through this process, and we had two things in mind. We wanted it to be world-class, befitting this city, and we wanted it to be citizen-driven. We didn't want it to be a planner's plan because we had lots of those. We didn't want it to be a single elected official's plan because we know what happens to those. We knew we were succeeding A couple of times. Certainly when 4,000 people showed up to participate. Definitely when Steve Wexler saved us from near-death experiences and legitimized a process that was full of tension, full of crisis, but with a lot of commitment by stakeholders. And we certainly succeeded when 1,500 people came to the convention center and listened to the rollout. And one of the exciting things about it, and I think something we have to keep in mind as we go through this, we were sitting in the front row as Harris gave his presentation. And it was a curious experience because as different elements of the plan were exposed or shown, different parts of the audience in the back would stand up and cheer. And what it told you was that it had woven a lot of different ideas and visions into the same plan. And that's what made it so strong. And we certainly knew we had succeeded when Mayor Nutter endorsed the action plan, and then, of course, today. I'm a former public official, and I happen to know that the hard work is in front of us, not in back of us. The Pier is great. The bike path that Paul Levy is working so hard on is terrific. The public improvements are going to be critical. But the real plan is going to happen because Rhina Cutler makes the right decisions, that Alan Greenberger makes the right decisions, Andy Altman makes the right decisions, developers make the right decisions because they're guided to a good plan. And so the way I like to think about this is that every step that everyone takes is in the right direction. It's not a public space over here that makes the plan. It's every decision that we make that makes the plan real. And that's why I would like to say that Mayor Nutter taking head on the issue of governance, which is what really brought us here today, the Delaware River Corporation, was the key issue for us. Was the leadership going to be there? Was the political courage going to be there? Was there going to be a group of people who really saw their role as making all of this happen? And that's why we're here today. The only other observation that I'd make before closing is that on the Plan Philly, which is our website, I'm sure everyone here knows it because you can probably video stream today's event as well. There was a great interview with the chairman of the Penn School of Design, who is also on the Waterfront Corporation, Marcia Bradford Taylor. And she recounts a story of talking to Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan about one of those mega events, challenges of New York City. And she said to the Senator, this is going to take 20 years. And he said, too long. He said, but right now, your job is to make this inevitable. And that's what I would like to hope that all of you do, is to make this inevitable so that we all expect every decision to be consistent with a great waterfront for Philadelphia. Thank you.
Heather was concerned that there might be a photo of me with a bag. It's an announcement. It's $1 million. There might be another $500,000 in the bag. I went for it first. But no, it just had all of our other stuff in it. We are, as you can tell, we're pretty excited about this. And again, no great thing happens without a lot of people involved. There's a lot of praise to go around, but I think the number one item that Heather also mentioned is there's still a lot of work to do. We'll need to keep people together. Your input, your advice, your observations, your critique, your suggestions, but also your hard work is what is really going to make a difference and make this successful. And I'll probably now adopt that other line that Heather said, which is also make it inevitable. It's actually something that a person said to us, I'll kind of conclude with this, there might be some questions for the press. I was in New York the summer of 2007. I was still a candidate. I'd won the primary. The general had not taken place yet. And Terry Gillen and Wendell Pritchett and a few of us went up to a number of cities. I went to see Mayor Bloomberg in New York and Mayor Daley in Chicago. And one thing that a person said about their 311 system up there, that they wanted to make it such a system that New Yorkers could not imagine New York City without that kind of system. I'm going to be in office however long I'm in office. This waterfront's going to be here forever. Our job and our responsibility is to set a course and set a path such that whoever is next, in many, many years to come, people will say, well, of course, this is the direction that the city has been going in for a long, long period of time. And that when people look back, 50, 100 years from now, folks will look at this moment and say, whoever was in office at that time, whoever were the decision makers, because we'll be long, long forgotten, did the right thing and set the city on the proper course. And that is our commitment, and that is our mission, and that's where we're going. So with your help and your support and your commitment, your continued observation as Philadelphians, which we know is always ever present, we will be very, very successful. So with that, I don't know if there are any questions, but we're pleased to be here today. Let me try to sort through those 6 questions. First, I grew up at 55th and Larchwood in West Philadelphia, so and we're at the city level. So I do not want to minimize the value of $1 million. Where I grew up, $1 million was a lot of money. So I want to again say thank you for the $1 million from the William Penn Foundation. Those dollars will primarily help us with the design issues around Pier 11 here and the work that goes with that. The city, and Andy Altman can talk about some of the city resources that have gone into whether it's a trail or even this particular area. Councilman DiCicco may or may not want to talk about issues related to zoning, but we are anticipating taking some action in that regard. But the primary focus on the $1 million is about design and development with regard to literally this. My notes are characterized as a derelict pier. I think that's fairly accurate for this particular project. Andy, you want to talk about city dock?
Thank you, Mayor. Just as the Mayor's absolutely right, there's the foundation money. There's also some capital dollars that have been with the Penn's Landing Corporation, now with the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation, that would match those dollars so that this could really advance forward in terms of the pier design work. It'll move forward on engineering work, design work. It'll also help to fund the open space, the public access master plan. So those are the 2 big pieces that this will start to fund. We also are working with some other funders for the completion of the full project, but this will really move forward significant design and development work.
Mayor?
On the political side, obviously it has nothing to do with the $1 million grant, but on this Thursday, I intend to introduce the zoning overlay and mapping for the Central Delaware waterfront. So that'll begin the political process through City Council for approval. We've been working with the private development community, and we'll continue to work once that bill is introduced if there are any tweaking of the bill that needs to be done in addition to what we've already set forth. So that political process begins this Thursday. And the Planning Commission, yes. And we're working in conjunction with the Planning Commission on that as well.
Mayor, last week we had a community meeting in Fishtown. How do you go back to a community like that and sell this idea and convince them that spending city resources, devoting city time on future recreational facilities is worth it for the city and not saving what's already there?
I'm sorry, Jennifer, I don't understand the question.
The question is, we're closing libraries.
We haven't closed the library. You should stop writing that.
There are plans to close library?
There are no plans to close the library. You should stop writing that.
There are plans to close recreational?
There are no plans to close the recreation center. You should not say that.
How do you convince the people of Fishtown that something like this is worth the city's time and effort?
Because this is about the future of the city. We're trying to encourage the development of our waterfront. This is not just about the day and time that we live in today. This is a future investment in the entire city of Philadelphia that will extend up into that same community. I think we have to be, part of the problem in this town sometimes is that we are so short-sighted that we cannot see the future in front of us.